All right, Bill. So here we are, and I thought, we can't have the leadership interview series, obviously, without interviewing our team here. And I wanted to touch base with you, particularly with your sales background and coming from the distributor, and now you're on the supplier side. I just thought it'd be really interesting, to introduce yourself, to the folks in the distributor lab and anybody else that'll be watching this, but also just to kind of get your insights into what's happening right now and some of the advantages, the synergy between the suppliers and distributors that we might have. But before that, why don't you just give us, Cliff Notes version of, how you ended up where you are now?
Uh, Basically, I've been in printing pretty much all my life, so that's really my background, my strong background, or the strongest part of my background, I should say. I went to school for printing, went to college at UW Stout for printing, and then got when I got out of college, spent a couple years as assistant manager of mailing services down in a printer down in Milwaukee area. And then I spent 19 years as customer service inside sales for a distributor and for a large distributor, and really got to know the ins and outs of, being a distributor. I did everything from press checks to, just customer service to everything. So it was a great experience. So I got to learn that side, and then about 7 years ago, I went to the other side. Worked for a printer that worked with office supplies for a couple of years, and they were a trade printer, so dealt only with distributors. And now I'm with Seaway, and I'm working with distributors again. So the vast majority of my career has been with or been working with distributors. So this is a great fit for me right now.
I'm always fascinated by people that have gone from, distributor to supplier, because the insights that you glean, there's tremendous advantages on the other side. So for you, are there things that you took over to Seaway with you now as a supplier that help you understand that market better, help you just service them a little bit better?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is knowing that with a distributor, you're only as good as the supplier that you're working with, because you're kind of one step removed. So if you have a source that is responsive and can get back to you in a timely manner, that means everything. Because I've when I was a distributor, I worked with sources that were really bad with customer service and getting back to you. And it was the most frustrating thing, because when you have a customer that's really looking for answers now, and you have nobody that's getting back to you, you're kind of stuck. So that's one of the biggest things I took away from it is, you really got to be responsive. And I do that. At least I try to do that every single day. And it's worked out great so far.
Yeah, and we have kind of similar backgrounds in that I was in the distributor world too, early in my career, and it is interesting because I can remember back. It took me a while. I mean, I was a young professional at the time, but it did take me a while to really understand the value of the suppliers. We went through that period as a young company when I had my distributorship where it was call everybody and get the cheapest price.
Mhm.
And then you realize really quick that the value of service and reliability, particularly when you're a distributor, I mean, it's like we got to a point where we knew who our go-to people were, and they could
Mhm.
have been significantly more expensive. They were always in line at the time, but the value, it was definitely worth it, whatever the additional charges were, because of
Mhm.
that relationship.
Yep.
To your point, all it takes is one unhappy customer, because of a supplier. It's very hard for a distributor to explain that away, and I think once you've been on that side of it, it definitely helps you relate and make sure that those things don't happen when you are the one that they're counting on.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. I agree.
what do you think? I guess working as a distributor and seeing distributors now, I guess we'll speak specifically to print distributors here. What do you think? differentiates those that are, really building that momentum that you've seen grow or have big wins versus those that continually struggle? Is there anything that really pops out as that separates the two in terms of what they're doing or how they approach business or any of that?
Well, I think it's just the distributors that are doing well have the resources to and they're backed by a corporate office or their company to with marketing and things like that. Those are the ones that are really seem to be succeeding, and they're just I think with the especially with social media and stuff like that, if you can get marketing and things, if you got a corporate entity that does a corporate office that does marketing and things like that, you can get that out on social media, you can get it out on email and to your customers and really make a big impact on on sales and the like.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and I know on some of the leadership interview series, it's funny how that keeps coming up, right? The support part of it, from pretty much everybody. Like they'll really stick to that, and it's vitally important. To your point earlier, like we understand the product delivery to me, especially with a company like Seaway, it's so reliable, right? That if you need the products that we're going to deliver for you, and you're going to right, in this case, a guy like yourself, the idea of the product coming offline and being delivered correctly, it's pretty much going to happen. It's all the other things with regard to how do I sell into new accounts? How do I kind of learn, how to sell print? What accounts work well? Is there any specific support outside of some of the things that you and I have tried to develop with the distributor lab that you've done to kind of support these folks?
Just by giving them advice, if what I like to do is if I get a quote request in and if there's some different specs or different ways that they can produce it that it's going to save them money, I always make suggestions. If they can adjust the paper or the page count or whatever and that way they can take that back to their customer and make that make those suggestions and add value to their customer. The other thing is if I always pride myself since I've been in the industry for so long, if there's a project that they ask me to quote on and it's not a good fit for me, I always try to give them another vendor that they can contact them that it might be a better fit for. That way they're not back to square one. They can go and check another vendor and potentially get the product done someplace else.
Yeah, that's cool. And in terms of like folks that, yeah, I guess even if they are, I was going to say that are not currently selling the type of products that we offer, right? Is there, anything, let's say I'm a distributor who is not currently selling the exact type of print products but I want to add it to, my offerings. Is there any specific like markets that you found are really good for the type of stuff that we produce? And have you seen anybody in that position that's broken into some of those markets?
I think pretty much any, there's healthcare, there's manufacturing, there's the big ones, automotive. There's so many companies out there. Almost every company has a catalog or marketing materials or some kind of printed materials that they need for marketing purposes. So I think, if you have an existing customer, all you got to do if you're selling them promotional products, all you have to do is ask them, hey, do you work with any print? Do you have any printing needs? And usually that opens up a completely new conversation, and it enables a distributor to become kind of a one-stop shop even more to that customer.
What do you think it is that keeps distributors out of the print market? And the reason I ask that is because I was the same way when I had a distributorship. I mean, a long time ago now, but with apparel. And I know some distributors that are watching this will relate to the product segments. Like we avoided apparel
Mhm.
for years, and
Yeah,
because we were afraid of it, quite frankly. And to
yeah,
some of you, that's going to sound funny because it's easy once you understand it. But we avoided it, and by the time I finished with that company, apparel was our number one product that we were
yeah,
selling, and we created our own headwear brand, which was basically apparel as well. So
yeah.
it's interesting to me. But what do you think keeps people out of the print market as a distributor in particular?
I think it's just, most people, they print this scary unknown that, that most people are trying to, they don't understand it. They've never worked with it. So they just don't want to learn it. But with print, I found that a lot of distributors, once they kind of get once they go through one project, it's kind of a rinse and repeat thing. So if you do one saddle stitch book, they're all kind of the same thing, and you just do it over and over again. And it's probably the same with apparel. It's probably the same with a lot of the other products. Once you learn what the process is and kind of some of the terminology, it's really easy to just repeat it again. And but I think there's just there's this reluctance for some people to want to learn a new industry or they're just comfortable. They get comfortable with certain products and they're good with that. And they can make a decent living maybe with that. And so they don't want to branch out. But I think, the distributors that I've seen that have branched out, they've really, been thankful that they did that because it's just like I said, it just opens up a whole new world and allows the distributor to become a one-stop shop.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that always fascinated me the most from a distributor, not just in the promo world, but like it's so hard to get a client. When you're a distributor,
Mhm.
it's hard work to position yourself to get a client. And then when you're in there, you're exactly right. You don't want to leave your comfort zone. You want to make sure, and this
Mhm.
goes back to the supplier thing, right? You don't want to take risks and
Mhm.
disappoint the client. But the opportunities to break through, particularly with print, because I mean the number of companies, if you're selling them, all of their promo or whatever it is, bags, pens, shirts, hats, chances are pretty good they are doing a decent amount of print,
Mhm.
depending on the scale of the business, et cetera. So it's one of those deals where it's just an easy revenue generator with
Mhm.
existing accounts, and so
Yep.
I would say really anybody interested, definitely reach out and I'm sure Bill, you can help kind of navigate those waters and give them a little bit more information on how to present that and what's it all about. Because just like myself with apparel, like once you get it and you
Yep.
you understand the opportunities, it
Yep.
is pretty remarkable what can happen.
Yeah, and one of the nice things, most companies they've done, brochures or they've done, printed materials before, and what happens is 9 times out of 10 they have all the specifications written down already. So all you
Mhm.
do is ask them for the specifications. They just hand it to you, and you can take that back, and and you just hand it to the printer and they take it from there. They can quote it and from there, from that first quote request, with all the specifications, if you have questions, ask me. I can tell you what all that means, and you can go back in being a lot more educated and feeling a lot more comfortable with print.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you on the supplier side and working with these distributors, and it's been great for me over the last, how long I've been working with you. to get to know some of these the distributors, like really hardworking, a lot of small businesses.
Mhm.
And for me, I guess because I've been through it, like there's just a level of appreciation and gratitude for what they're doing because it's not easy. Like I know on the
Agree.
outside looking in, they have to look successful and do all the right things, but it is definitely a lot of work, and especially when in the economic climate that we're in, like it can be a pretty scary thing. But it's been it's just been a lot of fun to support that and watch it grow. But for you, is there anything in particular, like, and I asked this, so this won't surprise you, I asked this on most of these leadership interviews, but like, is there a why or something that really stands out, like that makes you appreciate or grateful or really enjoy what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the the part of being kind of a team with the distributor and being an extension to them and helping them through and working through, if there's any issues or questions or anything like that. It's really gratifying, when, project comes in and it goes out and there, everything is great. The distributor's happy, the end customer's happy, and it's just a great feeling.
A lot of people don't know this, but you were the 1989 bass fishing champion in Wyoming, which is it's crazy. If you want to talk about that a little bit. Okay. How awesome would it be?
And
We
just
figured
don't
out.
bring, I can talk about that, but just don't bring up my alligator wrestling days.
How great that'd be awesome. We just go down a path. We were like, this guy's crazy. No. Um, but I guess, is there anything that, would be helpful that I should have asked you?
The key is that, um, you know, that we're a partner, if through good and bad, we're here to make sure that everything gets taken care of and everybody's happy. So that's really the key, because there's some vendors out there that, if something goes wrong, they don't want any part of it. They'll just walk away. And I just never understood that mentality. I mean, that was my worst fear when I was working as a distributor of, a job going south and then finding, that the distributor was like, it's your problem, not mine. And, then you're stuck, kind of between a rock and a hard place because you can't, because you don't want to be like that, but even though the vendor is, so I, I pride, I pride myself in knowing that, if we're going to be there, to work through any issues and make sure that everybody's happy in the end.
That's awesome, man. We'll have to do this again, but yeah, I appreciate it. That was fun.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Now,